The following episode will contain spoilers. Trust me, it's fine.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do?
Nope.
And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Nope.
Yeah, I hear you. This film was definitely a WTF was that.
Nope.
So this episode we are talking about Cuckoo, and I'm going to give you the long synopsis because I feel like it kind of needs it. Reluctantly, 17-year-old Gretchen leaves her American home to live with her father, who has just moved into a resort in the German Alps with his new family. Arriving at their future residence, they are greeted by Mr. Coing, his father's boss, who takes an inexplicable interest in Gretchen's mute half-sister Alma. Something doesn't seem right in this tranquil vacation paradise. Gretchen is plagued by strange noises and bloody visions until she discovers a shocking secret that also concerns her own family.
Nope.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. So this film, unfortunately, wow, what a waste of time. We are not a movie review show, but I would not recommend that anyone see Cuckoo.
Nope.
So the premise was so confusing and weird that it doesn't really lend itself to a lot of what would you do's, with the exception of Gretchen's placement with her dad in the Alps. And she went to move with her dad because her mom died. And so she was shipped off to go and live with her dad and his newish wife and the daughter that they have together. I'm waiting for you to just respond with nope.
Nope.
Yeah. So what would you do in a situation like that? Because that's got to be hard, where you're not only grieving the loss of a parent, but you're also put in. Why are you making hand gestures at me? You're distracting me. What? You're making a whole bunch of gestures at me. So you're.
Am I going to take care of that in editing? Nope.
Alrighty. So you're grieving the passing of your mom, and then you're put into this home situation where you really are the odd man out, and they even go further to say that their daughter is now experiencing problems because of your arrival. That's a really bad situation to be in. Okay, we have dead air here.
Nope.
Okay, is this how this episode's going to go?
Yep.
Wow, okay. Well, that's not a very compelling episode then.
Nope.
Alrighty, folks. Well, I guess thank you for stopping by and wasting your time on this episode.
Nope.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. Okay, we couldn't go out like that. So here is version 2 of the episode. The whole thing is still shorter than most of our episodes. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
So here's the problem with this movie. I can't get in anyone's shoes. No one's. Absolutely no one. Not even the main characters. Because there was so much weird shit that I could not follow. And I'm not dumb. I can follow stuff with generally no problem. But this was so all over the map. Weird. Like, one moment this guy's protecting her. The next moment she's stabbing him. And Herr König. Ugh. Sorry, that's German for king. Bleh.
Yeah, this film was a whole lot of it was confusing, and I understand that there was something with some sort of ancient creatures that lived in the woods and some artificial insemination to keep them alive, but it was not clear. It was extremely confusing, and it probably could have been a good film if it had some freaking focus and some better explaining as to what the heck it was that we were seeing. Because it's not like some films where you're like, oh, what is that? And then they eventually tell you what that is. But this whole thing started and ended with a whole lot of what's going on.
Well, if I may use a Scottism that I've used on this show a couple of times, this show was a little light on the artsy and a little heavy on the fartsy.
Yeah, I think the only part of the film that we could put our feet in Gretchen's shoes, the main character, the teen who was moving in with her dad, is just the relocation into a family that you are connected to, but you're really not a part of.
Yeah.
And
I want to be completely clear for the audience why I am like I am on this episode. I by no means think this was a good movie, but I've seen plenty of movies that were worse than this one. Like, there were parts of this movie that were reasonable. The problem is we are cinema IRL. For us to do our show, we need to be able to put ourselves into the shoes of the characters, and it's just too scattershot, too weird, too unexplainable in many ways for me to do that. I literally can't do my job.
I hope we are both using the word job in air quotes. So the thing with
My job here.
Yeah, I meant the job here. So the thing with Gretchen is her mom died, and she goes to move in with her dad and his new wife and the daughter that they had. And the daughter that they had, Alma, starts having problems, and her Gretchen's dad and stepmom start blaming Gretchen, saying, you're causing these problems with Alma. And Gretchen's like, well, what the hell? And that's the only part of the film that makes sense, because after that, we spiral into a whole lot of confusion about people getting killed. I thought they were killed, and then all of a sudden they're walking around again. And like you had been talking about before, of someone is saying, I'll protect you, and then they stab them, and then they say, no, we're friends, and then they shoot them. And it was just these creatures that were some sort of ancient beings that lived in the forest and made weird sounds, and there was artificial insemination. This was a very challenging movie to stay engaged with because there was never any explanation or payoff.
Yeah. I mean, I literally have nothing else to say. I have nothing else to add.
So the only thing that I can contribute here from a put yourself in my shoes standpoint is Gretchen being shipped off to the family. And in a situation where you are mourning your mom, and then you're put with this family that's supposed to be your family, but you just don't know them and don't really have much of a relationship with them. Wow, that would really suck. And then when bad things start happening to you, and your dad is more concerned about his new daughter than about you, that's just makes it even worse. When you're far away from home, you have no friends, your mom died, and now your dad is basically annoyed by your presence.
Honestly, that part wasn't even scripted well. There were so many weird aspects to that whole thing. It's sure you can run a what would you do in that scenario, but I feel like that's so of an overused movie trope that I just don't want to.
Well, usually it's overused in comedies where you think of films like 16 Candles, where a family is ignoring them. Granted, Claire and oh no, that wasn't Claire. Claire was The Breakfast Club, another Molly Ringwald film. But yeah, where the family doesn't notice what's happening with you. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of films and TV shows with kids who are relocated with parents and new families and trying to cope. But this film is definitely a challenge. So maybe we should just release our listeners out into the wild so they can get back on and to bigger and better things.
We have, if you've not watched or listened to our other episodes, go to the one of them. They're infinitely better than this one.
Yeah, no, this one's not good. Sorry, folks.
You win some, you lose some. Just really hope this wasn't your first episode. We apologise.